welcome everybody on the behalf of the Brazilian American Chamber to our happy hour with Adriana Machado. We have the pleasure and honor of hosting Adriana Machado, a celebrated business leader in Latin America and outspoken advocate of the impact economy. Adriana is former CEO of G do Brasil and founder of the Briyah Institute, a benefit corporation that bridges innovation, practice, and purpose with a systems thinking approach.
Thank you, John. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Tatiana, Fernanda, Luca, Marcelo, for the bridge, for inviting me and for having me. It's a pleasure. So let's begin with the why. So why systems thinking? I am totally in love with this knowledge that I now have. I truly believe that the world has changed so much. We're living times that are very, how can I say, very turbulent, lots of complexity in the air in everything we do, in our businesses, but also in our lives. So many things happening at the same time, lots of pressure, lots of decision-making to be made, speed, everything accelerated with the pandemic. You have to be mindful of different things, like juggling different balls at the same time. So there is no room for linear thinking. Like if I do A, then I get B. If I go here and do this, then I'm ready to do that, right? This time of linear thinking for leaders is gone. I totally believe we have to find this new mindset, attuned to this complexity of the world, to live in peace and to have, the ability to make the decisions and include the unknown in a way that we were not used to, we were not trained to in the past. So I think systems thinking is a tool, is a soft skill, is a technique, is a way of thinking, framing that is very, very helpful for today's world. And what is it? So how can we tell if we're systems thinkers or not, right? First of all, I usually like to say that we, as like our body, as human beings, we are complex adaptive systems. Anybody here from STEM engineering has heard this theme before? I see Flavia, Vinicius, Alan raising their hands. So it comes from biology, physics, right? This complexity science is now emerging with a combination of multiple fields of knowledge. But complex adaptive systems means we are a whole that is greater than the sum of the parts. The parts interact, and by interacting, they create synergies. And the synergies are very, good to produce outcomes. And usually there are feedback loops in the process. You can identify patterns, and you can change systems by seeing systems. So all of this technology, language, and stuff, what this has, have to do with leadership, right? So I believe that by having this shift in mindset, allowing yourself to look, as I say, zooming out, not only zooming in, is very powerful, very, very powerful. There are moments where you have to zoom in, analyze, focus on details, but there are moments where you have to take a step back and look broader and include parts so you can understand the patterns better. Because if you don't, if you work with problems in a fragmented way, you're going to see a lot of aspects of that problem, and you might even find good solutions for that problem. But you don't see the interconnectedness. You don't see the overlaps. You don't leverage where there is like a node, a concentration, a connection, yes? So being a connector is being a systems thinker. When you are applying that knowledge of working with different dimensions or trying to see the way the parts connect, or reinforcing connectivity, not judging and jumping to conclusions right away, but holding back and looking, this might be good for him or for her. So maybe if I start a conversation around that topic, this can lead to something else. So you build the connections as you go. You form your own network as you go. You learn different things throughout your life, and you apply those different things as you go. And you're open to what life has in store for you. You're open to the opportunities, the chances that might happen to you. You're not scared of change because you know change is inevitable. Change is part of the equation. So the moment you kind of relax and say, okay, I know change is coming. I don't know how it's going to be, how big, how intense, how fast, but it's coming. So when it hits you right in the face, you go, okay, deep breath. Let's see what's going on here. Let me look at this. Let me see the systems that are interacting, the parts that are interacting, the patterns that are forming. What is emerging here? What are the alternatives that I have? And you pivot and you can find better alternatives. You can get different insights. You make better decisions. You are a better leader. So this didn't come to me just like, natural, but I can guarantee that each one of you has some element of systems thinking that you may not call it that way, but that you already use because you are complex adaptive systems yourselves. Your organizations, the companies you work for, or the schools you study at, they are complex adaptive systems also. The cities we live in, the countries, the world, the planet is a complex adaptive system. So if this is all around us and in us, and we, surf in these waves all the time, we are systems thinkers. We might not just be conscious of it. So my invitation to you here is, how can you be a little bit more aware of systems? How can you tap into it in a systemic way? How can you really become systems thinkers and leaders who apply that to your reality? And then I went on to Sao Paulo. I started the function at the Chamber of Commerce there, the AmCham in Sao Paulo. First, I arrived and I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I had the opportunity to create something new for the chamber, which was coming from Brasilia to Sao Paulo, having had a background in government affairs, working with the government, both the Brazilian and the American government there, and now having this vision of what the private sector needed and how to connect the two sides allowed me to also practice systems thinking. There was a system that had its own patterns, which was the public, the government system. And there was this private sector with a different dynamic. And I was the bridge. I could interpret certain things. I could translate certain patterns to both sides, and we could get things done, right? So intuitively, I was playing the role of a systems thinking leader. GE understood that it could reduce its carbon footprint, water consumption, and improve its efficiency in terms of electricity usage, and also help clients, customers, community do that and make money with that. So eco-imagination was the precursor of what now we called ESG. It was a business strategy integrated into all the different business units to meet those metrics of carbon reduction, water reduction, consumption, and efficiency. And there were metrics. There was investment, there was money being spent on R&D to develop new products or to improve existing products to deliver those metrics. There was an engagement of multiple stakeholders understanding what the clients needed, working with the different business units to develop those technologies for the market. And there was, how can I say, a systemic effect also, because it also improved the company as a whole grow in this field of impact, right? And also find its way out of reinventing itself through the ages, through the years. So that was a very important program that went on from 2005 to 2015 in GE, and it generated about $270 billion in revenues for GE. Another example he gives is digital. GE developed a whole business unit called GE Digital under Jeff's leadership. And his vision was very ambitious. He wanted GE to lead the way into this digital transformation we're talking about today. This was back then, and he hired a bunch of people, created this new function there for data analytics, created this platform to predict, so it predicts, and it was going to also help all the different business units and products and whatever we produced at GE to have its digital twin, to have data generated from the sensors and the different things that the products, the real products had, that could help plan maintenance when it was time to replace, even materials that could be used. It was very, very advanced for its time, and was very systemic. So in my second cycle there in GE, when I became CEO and I found my place there in the corporate world, I was able to apply systems thinking, not knowing it was called systems thinking. But it was such a good lesson that when I left GE and I started my third cycle now as a creator of the Briyah Institute, an entrepreneur here in the United States, I said, I want to do that part of the business that I used to do in GE. I want to focus on this kinds of products, innovations that drive positive impact for the planet, that help people deliver on those results. So when I created Briyah, I wanted it to be focused on innovation, practice, and purpose. So purpose, although I say it last, it is first, right? So whatever I work with in Briyah has to have a reason for being. Usually when you are dealing with different people that don't think like you need to spend some time listening. And that is not as fast as if everybody gets it, does it, and goes to it, right? So there is a benefit of speed if you're like-minded and you know the pattern. There's a speed there that happens. But there is a benefit of the outcome if you allow diversity to be present, to be heard, to have a voice. So the more you do this, the better you get in terms of speed. So it might be not so obvious or not so welcoming in the beginning to spend time to welcome, to include, to listen, to learn how to work together. But I guarantee you, after spending some time struggling, you will get much better results in a faster pace. So it pays off. He was going to meet the Sustainable Development Goals in Bangladesh before 2030 with the force of entrepreneurship. And then I asked him, how come? And he explained, he said, there's only unemployment because there is employment. I said, how's that? And he goes, if everybody looks for a job, it's like a funnel. The more experience you get, the less opportunities you will get to, for you to be in that role. So there are fewer CEOs than there are entry-level people, right? So the more you want a job and you work hard on a title and another degree and more education, more practice, the less opportunity for traditional jobs exist in the market. Now, if you invert that and you create your own job and you don't look for a job, but you create your own jobs. You're not job seekers, we're job creators. There's room for everybody. And you don't have to create your own startup and do everything by yourself. You can partner, you can do other things, you can be more creative there. But that's what he's doing in Bangladesh. So he's incentivizing this entrepreneurial spirit. He's calling it social entrepreneurship. And I don't agree with that because he doesn't look for profit. And I totally believe a little bit of twist will do its magic, which is yes, entrepreneurship, yes, social, but yes, profit. I don't have like a recipe that like one size fits all, but I definitely believe that confidence is an important trait for anybody. So if we are not confident in what we do in the space we are occupying, it's harder for you to deliver results. And I heard that from a man in GE, so a big leader, talking to women. And it is common for women to feel less confident than men when applying for a position or for or you know, saying yes, I am volunteering to do that job, right? And he was stressing that because he believed that this was very important in a leader, male or female. And I kind of stayed with that in my mind. And I looked back and I said, well, yes, the moments I had the best growth were moments where I could feel confident in what I was doing. So I would say confidence is not a permanent status. It's not something that you have and forever you have it. It is something you have to continuously attune to, and you can build confidence also. There are ways to build confidence. So answering your question, confidence is very important. You not always have it. And it's not because you had it once that it will always be with you, but there are ways for you to get it. And it's important that you consciously look for that, right? Support system, very important. Everything we do in life, guys, we don't do it alone. We need other people. Collaboration is so important, right? And there is no one size fits all either. I benefited from being in Brazil, for having a good salary that I could afford help. But it also is the prioritization that I think I did that allowed me to keep my support system healthy. Why regenerative? I would love to be able to say, let's just create the new. Let's, you know, forget about the past and let's create the new. But you don't have to just discontinue or, you know, not honor what was done before. People did it because they also thought it was the right thing to do. There were good intentions there. You have to honor what happened because people knew what they knew and did what they could do. But now we know better, right? And we can learn from nature how to regenerate. So I totally believe that we can fix the economy if we change our mindset for a more regenerative mindset and apply the best practice we see in nature to the economy, to capitalism. And there are many movements happening that can help us. The circle economy is very much like that, right? The systems thinking groups, the conscious capitalism. And there's a lot of lots of good voices talking about regenerative. Many good examples that come from health, from healthcare, from agriculture, the permaculture, the way you can have agriculture under the forest without cutting trees. So there's technology that is now available to us to do it differently. So we don't have to, you know, totally erase the past, but how can we take advantage of the opportunities for new investment and remodeling and reshuffling? And this pandemic is a great opportunity for that because lots of things broke or didn't, you know, continue because the system was not so favorable anymore. And we have an opportunity to rebuild, like you said. But even if you have not broken, you can still find a trajectory that's more regenerative, right? It makes sense for the people in the organization. It makes sense for the planet. And I'm certain it will make more sense for the business in the long run. And so maybe just like Anna was saying, right? It's easier, faster to just talk to people like you and get decisions done fast, but maybe they're not the best decisions. right? So it's possible for just you to do business as usual and keep going and get the business to survive, but maybe that's not in the long run what you wanted to do. So maybe take the opportunity now, right now. What is this disruption causing that I can reflect upon and maybe do differently and be more regenerative about my business?
Really great. And thank you very much. Thank you all for coming that are still here. And that brings us to the end of our happy hour.